Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. Hope everybody's doing okay tonight. It's been another one of those weeks. Not too weird, but not too normal. I don't know about you guys. It does kind of seem like globally things are heating up. And I always keep saying that, and then it just gets a little weirder and a little weirder. I definitely feel like the coincidences have really ramped up in my life, where I just think of something and stuff shows up. So that's higher than ever. It's gotten to the point where I'm like, yeah, of course it's everywhere, because I was just thinking about that. I got my cruelty-free veggie burger and fries. Cruel to the plants. Yeah, I don't know. Some of those veggie burgers are like chemical burgers, so I don't always suggest those, but I think the old veggie burgers were probably a little healthier, because it was just like sunflower seeds and stuff like that. And they weren't bad. I mean, especially once you load a bunch of ketchup and onions and stuff on them. Can't believe we just have 6 weeks to the end of the year. I know. I was just thinking now, I'm like, it's almost Thanksgiving. I better buy some presents or something. It's my fault I threw a watch and made time fly. Time has been weirder than ever. There was another one of them. I think I lost like a half-hour things. It's like I walked to the other side of the house and came back and looked at the clock, and in like a half hour was gone. So that made me like not be able to go to something that I was going to go to. And maybe I kind of didn't want to go to it. So I kind of wondered if maybe I did that. I don't know, or something, but it's like, I was kind of like, oh, good, now I can't go because it's too late, but then business as usual. I've heard 2024 is even weirder than 2023, but 2025 is when things are getting better. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, is it just like what we believe is what's going to happen? Because ever since it's been like seven years now of this Mandela stuff, and so I just remember all these things were like, this year it's gonna happen. Then there was a point 7 years ago where everybody's saying we're on that 7-year Bible thing with the trumpets, because remember there was like weird trumpet sounds in the air back then, and that strangely has kind of like that whole story disappeared. I haven't heard many new ones on that at all. But so now 7 years has passed, and now people are saying, oh, now is when the trumpets, and it's like 12 years. I'm like, so you get a storyline, and then you shift, and then now there's a new storyline. So the old storyline never existed. So I can't put too much stock in the storylines. I don't know. Maybe stuff just happens at different times depending on the timeline. But it does feel like, from my perspective, it just does feel like my brain is constantly having to adapt to newer, weirder energies and stuff. It's like a constant adaptation. The reality gets stranger and stranger. They are reusing the old politicians, wash, rinse, and use again. yeah, it kind of feels like that. It's kind of been interesting because part of it is like the different politicians are flipping back and forth, where now this batch of them makes sense, and now this batch of them makes sense. So I'm kind of curious, like, okay, this batch said we're not going to do any more wars, and then a month later, oh, we need to go and do this war. I'm like, didn't you just say like a week ago that we shouldn't do wars? And then, so it's like, how many people are listening, Didn't we agree we weren't going to do wars? Lately, when I yawn, I hear small bells ringing in my left ear. I have not heard of that particular one. You might want to Google it and see if it's a thing. I don't know what that emoji is. It looks like somebody's brain is like coming out of the skull floor. What emoji is that? I'm not an emoji expert, but that one looks weird. Okay, so what's going on? kind of a lot. Some big ones, some small ones. I didn't look very hard. They just showed up. But this one, who found this one? This one was somebody. Okay, this one was a person on Retconned, Nuns and Buns. It's the username. Not going to investigate that one too hard, but this song, I do remember this song, and it's the lyric changes. There's, I don't know, I think every song has lyric changes now, for at least for some of us, but this is Lowrider. So if you kind of remember it, it is pretty old, so you kind of have to be like Gen X or older, I think. But I don't know, you know, they played this for a long time, so you didn't even have to be around in 75 to have heard it. But so I can't actually play it because of copyright, but it kind of goes like da na 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 na, and then the lyrics are like, there's two options now. Which lyrics is it? So it can either be all my friends drive a low rider, da na 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 na, a low rider is a little higher. Okay, maybe you remember that song. If you, I think it's close enough that you'll know what I'm talking about. But so it's either all my friends know a low rider, or it's all my friends drive a low rider. Which one is it? Know a low rider, drive a low rider. So kind of an older one, but I definitely think it's changed. So this one was found by that dude on Retconned, whose name I have already said. I don't hear trumpets. So the trumpets thing was about 7-8 years ago, right around when I just learned about the Mandela. There was all this viral stuff of like weird trumpet sounds in the air. And then at first it's like, what the hell is that? And then the scientists are, oh, it's when the sound waves bounce off a high pressure system and then come back down and they're warped or something. And I'm like, what? But I'd never heard of it until about 7 years ago. Of course, now it's always been there, but there was a huge bunch of viral videos on that weird stuff. And one of them even kind of sounded like the TARDIS, if you ever watched Doctor Who. Well, I thought that one was really weird. I'm like, is this real? Or are they trolling us with this TARDIS sounds? But it's just kind of died out. I haven't heard too many of them anymore. But there was a big thing where it was like, oh, it's the trumpets. I was like, well, am I going to hear these? Am I going to see it? But I never did. And I'm still kind of waiting. Something weird I got since my trip to Toronto. Huh. Watch out for those Canadians. Own a low. Okay, you have own a low rider. All right, that's interesting. I wonder if there's like 100 versions of this. I mean, officially there's only one version. It's done by the, I swear this like reminds me of Cheech and Chong, but it was War, I guess was the name. By the band War. And, you know, I didn't even ever know what the band was. I just remember the song. You might notice that I have altered my computer a bit to have the cursor larger and red. So hopefully that is useful for you guys to find. I was actually having some other problem I was trying to fix. Somehow I changed the computer by accidentally clacking things so that the W, A, and S keys were reversed with the arrow keys, which was obviously extremely irritating. I didn't even know it was possible to do that. And then today, there's something funky going on with the front USB ports because they're intermittently deciding not to talk with the mic. And so then I go to... It was just working 5 minutes ago, and then it refused to work. So I actually plugged it in the back. Luckily, there seems to be more USB ports back there. I'd only known of the 4 back there, and they were completely full. So I was like, what do I do? But then I realized up at the top, there's 2 others. And so apparently it now works. Yay. Okay, so this is the lyrics is supposed to be, all my friends know the low rider. Know the low rider. Right. I swear it was drive a low rider. All my friends drive a low rider. And drive does not sound like no. And it was really a clear drive for me. So know the low rider, own a low rider. I could kind of see confusing those two, but not drive. But maybe this is one of those where there's been a lot of timeline versions, but the rest sounds about right to me. The low rider is a little higher, which never made any real sense. I mean, it's kind of a jokey thing, but so yeah, I agree with that retconned Reddit person that it changed. Okay, now this one is I needed something to put on the thumbnail, and guess what pinched me early this morning? I was sleeping, and I felt a big old pinch on my arm, and I was like, the hell? It didn't even feel like an ant, because ant is more like a sting, and I guess I didn't realize there's a huge difference until it happens. But I knew it wasn't an ant. It felt wrong. So I, like, jump up, and I pull the covers back, and there's an effing monster pincher earwig there, right where I had gotten pinched, and he's like ah! And I just, first thing I thought of was like, I'm like, oh my god, the pinchers are huge. Now, we've had these on before, but I swear the pincher, you know, it used to be more like this one, maybe. This was a more accurate look for them, with a little pincher, even littler than that, and they were weak, and they didn't used to be able to pinch people, and they didn't used to have wings, I might add. They do have wings hidden under here now, but that was more like how they are. But this guy, I've been watching them, and this guy had a pincher more like this. I was just like, and they can really, really pinch now. I mean, I was minding my own business in my bed. I don't think I was even moving when it pinched me. I mean, look at those stinkers. So it seems like mosquitoes are maybe a little less bitey, but now we've got these things. They fly. They've got no-see-ums that like bite, and there's all these biting flies and stuff. So it's been kind of like this weird shuffle of beasts where some of them meaner beasts have gotten nicer, but then these didn't used to be able to, they used to be so weak that they wouldn't hurt you, you know, like I used to pick them up and just throw them out, and I didn't worry about the pincher because they couldn't do anything before, but they have a nasty pinch now, so be very careful of little stinky things. Although unlike a sting, it goes away fast, so I'll give it that. But is that Cheech-a-Chong? Oh, okay, that's why it looks like Cheech-a-Chong. Okay. See, I wasn't very old at 75, so I just remember the song, though. They used to play it all the time. So earwigs, you know, the story used to be, oh, what if they get in your ear? They like your ear because it's cold and damp in there or something. And then they're like, oh, no, they don't really go into ears. Okay, they sometimes go into ears, and then you just get to pull them out. Well, it's actually creepy now because I'm afraid they're going to start going into ears, frankly, because now they pinch hard, and if that sucker was in my ear pinching, it would really be bad. It would really be bad. So I hope that they don't follow. I mean, like, the name of it is making me nervous, okay? My cat failed you. So my kitty, he is not allowed upstairs because he'll knock over stuff. And also the dog used to be upstairs, which is the other reason that started. So he sleeps with Dave. So he goes over to Dave's house and sleeps because there's the two properties. So he was not to blame for the... But, you know, frankly, he does mice and stuff. He's not really into, like, insects that much. It's like cons, parasite. Yeah, I know. It's getting huge. If we're gonna find out that they're like getting in people's ears and taking over their brains or something. Okay, why are earwigs named that? Why? I have never heard about the corn. Why are earwigs named earwigs? What's it's an earwig? What's the wig part? Oh, earwigs are a type of insect with large membranous hind wings. They did not have hind wings. And that lie hidden under short, leathery forewings. The name earwig is derived from Anglo-Saxon word meaning ear creature. probably from a widespread ancient superstition that earwigs crawl into the ears of sleeping people. See? I don't like the superstition because it might come true. Suggests the origin of the name is reference to the appearance of the hind wings. The hind wings, which are unique and distinctive among insects and resemble a human ear when folded. They don't resemble a human ear. There's nothing on the back of an earwig that resembles a human ear. That's total horse hockey. Now, maybe it'll change later. Now, that's ridiculous. All right, let's find this. Is there anything on the back of these earwigs that resemble a human ear? Because I sure as heck do not see. The entomologists are smoking crack because there's no part of that that looks like a human ear. If anything, it kind of looks like fangs or something. I mean, maybe it will eventually get there, but, you know, this is just another example about how this reality makes no effing sense. No human ear there. All right, these are an unfolded one. That doesn't look like it. Ooh, are they going to get... Oh, are they going to get colored wings? Of course they are. Look at that. I saw these before. They did not. Oh, it does kind of look like an ear, doesn't it? Oh, it does a little bit. Okay. A rainbow ear. Vaguely. It doesn't look like a human ear, though. It looks like an elephant or something. All right. Well, it looks like we're getting rainbow wings. Last time I checked these and saw the wings, there was no rainbow on them. So we've got upgraded to the rainbow wings. I still think that that's a stretch. Although I would prefer the entomologist storyline on that. Let's just say they're going to look like a human ear. Thank you. See, he could have been high. Okay, if you're high and you saw that shape, you could see an ear in there very easily. How can the marijuana van be worth $1 billion in the 70s or 80s? Okay, I apparently have lost the thread of this conversation because I don't. Are you talking about Cheech and Chong's van or something? Yeah, those fly now. They didn't used to. I swear to God, they did not used to. They looked a little different along the back. Now they have the hidden wings. I am quite positive that they did it. They show one in an ear. I am not even looking at that. The more I look at it, the more it might come true. God, because they can pinch. You know, that pinch, it already hurts on normal skin. I don't want to think about it in an ear. Okay, so it's been a little bit weird week, and one of the things that happened was on Friday, I go down and help take care of the horses at this horse rescue. And my job is to feed them all. So a lot of times I'm there by myself because they kind of know me and they're pretty confident that I'm going to take care of my job. And so they don't, you know, people get a break, they can go home. And I do the Friday feed. So I go and I'm like driving, and there's this little golf cart thingy, and I have the hay back there. And I go to this one stall that they have like these little smallish corrals, and I'm like, this one horse had a really big run area, and I was just like, dang, this area looks like 40% smaller than I remember. I just remember it being really kind of big, and you kind of had to hoof it, you know. So I also sometimes I'll clean some of the stalls. I can't finish them all, but I clean some of the stalls. There's 15 horses, so there's a lot. And I'm like, this is way smaller. And I'm like, looking, did they shrink it down? You know, because they are talking about putting another one next to that one on a little spot of land over there. And I'm like, but I couldn't see where they moved the corners, the road. There's a road that goes all the way around it, and it didn't look like the road had been shifted. And I'm like, there's no evidence that this corral has been shrunk. Okay. It's possible, but highly unlikely, because if you move posts, there's usually old post holes, and, you know, the weeds line right underneath the existing fence line, so you'd see the weed line not lining up, and none of the indicators were that it was moved. Plus, they have enough room out there. There would be no need to shrink that one. I'm like, well, you know, there's always a chance they shrunk it. It seemed highly unlikely. Nobody was there to ask, and it's kind of a dorky thing to ask. So I didn't, you know, I'm going to text over it. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sure. So I'm driving. I feed like half the horses, and I get up to this. There's these 2 horses, one on each side, and I park in the middle, and then I feed this side, and then I feed this side. And I'm like driving up, and I park, and I'm looking right at it. There's another stall up there, and I know that stall was not up there. And that stall has been up there for like a long time. I mean, the weeds are all grown around it. The door is missing. I'm not going to call it a stall. It's a corral. It's a small, that one's kind of small, but it's rusty. I mean, like that thing has, in this timeline, it's been there a long time. Like, you know, at least 5, probably more like 10 years. And, it was not there. And the thing is, when I drive up, I have to look right at it because so that whole place, you know, I had always kind of kept track of the horse numbers, and they only had 1 empty corral. And they usually use that for training the horses and kind of running them around. I was like, if they get another horse, they're going to either have to put it in that corral, or it has to go in with one of the other horses. And that's kind of tricky when you get a new horse, because you don't always know if they're going to get along. Maybe they're crabby and they don't get along with other horses. So that was always the kind of thing in my mind, like they can't get more than 1 now. But now there's 2. There's 2 corrals now. So it's like, I was like, so yes, another corral has magically shown up on that place. And so I'm going to see, you know, like, I'm going to kind of like, next time the owner's there, I'm going to just say, oh, you know, what's up with that corral up there? And just see what she says. And then she's going to say, what corral? And is she going to look surprised? Or is she going to totally know what, you know, oh yeah, that was blah, 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 you know, so I'm curious on that. So that's the current stratagem. But yeah, I was like tripped out. Okay, so here's another weird thing. So apparently, okay, there's 2 things. This one we covered before, but I don't think we covered it. I don't think I saw it as much as there is in here. Like, this one was found by, where'd it go? Oh, okay, this one was found by, is that user? No. Okay, yes, that is that person. It is found by Audit First Amendment. So that was commenter, Audit First Amendment on the channel. Found this one, and we have covered this one before, but it's more now. So it's the female uterus. Apparently it's not so uncommon to have 2. Now, I do remember us talking about this bicornate uterus, where like you kind of have 2 uteruses, but they kind of go into the same, like you wouldn't really know, okay? But now we have this additional one where there's totally 2 separate uteruses here. So here's one where like it's kind of half split, and then it splits into 2, and now, this is a full 2. So this would be like some kind of other creature that has 2 whole uteruses. You can have 2 separate babies in there. Now there's all these stories of people having 4 or 5 babies, like 2 or 3 per uterus. And it's not from like, you know, artificial insemination or anything. It's a thing. It's just like we're getting more freaking uteruses. So it's not like that weird. That's the thing. I mean, this used to be like you would hear rumors that 1 woman in a bajillion had it or something, but now it's not that strange anymore. So that kind of tripped me out. But then the next thing, so they're calling it uterus didelphus. And I don't think it even had a name before, because there just wasn't, you know, somebody has 2 uteruses. That's how it used to be. Okay, but now we have, once you have a fancy name, it's getting more common. But the other thing that was extra weird. It's like, oh, well, maybe you didn't know about it. It's still rare. But this is the one I ran into. So it's interesting because Audit First Amendment saw this one and mentioned it this week. But on the same week, this week, I found this one, which is also about uteruses. And this one's like 20-30% of women have this interestingly different issue with their uterus. Actually, let me put the wiki. So, anybody heard of retroverted uterus? Retroverted? So, I only remember there being like one kind, but apparently your uterus can be like flipped around. So it goes back the other way. Let me see. This is not wiki like I wanted. How come typing wiki doesn't yield wiki here? That's weird. Let's try Google, shall we? I don't know. You know, Swiss Cows has been getting weird lately. The search engine called Swiss Cows. I might have to stop using them. First of all, they don't do porn, but they also mistake a lot of stuff for porn that's not porn. So, although they did give me this one, but there's been, like, you might type in something like the movie Twin Peaks and they'll be like, oh, porn. Like, oh, no, it's not. I tried looking for Skinwalker Ranch, and then they're like, oh, porn. I'm like, just because it has the word skin in it does not make it porn. Okay. A retroverted uterus is a uterus that is oriented posteriorly towards the back of the body, in contrast to the typical uterus, which is oriented forward towards the bladder. Okay, so this one kind of shows it. I guess this is the normal one, and then this is retroversion, and this is even more retroversio, retroflexio. Okay, so apparently about 25, 35-ish% of women have one of these versus this normal one, and it's considered normal, not unusual, in other words. It's just a little bit tight. No, it's not unusual. So there was all these stories of women who have this, and they're like, one of the great things is you don't show, apparently. They're like, you could be 5 months pregnant and not look pregnant, is the story. I don't know. I just never heard of this. This is crazy town. So again, there's so much weird variation between people now. Let's see where we're at here. I have moving TARDIS on my phone as wallpaper. I always like that weird sound it makes, and then the song they have before the show. Huh. Not true. I have a tilted uterus like that, and my pregnancy showed big time. Whoops. Well, I don't know. That's just what people are saying. I can't vouch for them. All right, so there was that. So I guess it's like pretty common. All right, now this one was found by Mark Tyus. So I can't swear this didn't exist before, but there's a bunch of weird stuff. First of all, you would think that this would have been viral long ago because it's weird. Apparently there was a torture device, kind of torture, not the worst torture, not the best torture, but a medieval shame flute was used to punish bad musicians in the Middle Ages. It's a shame. So I guess if you sucked at your musician job, or apparently any performer would get this, and they would basically clamp it around your neck, and it was really heavy. It's not really so much like a flute, but it's bigger. But they called it the shame flute. And then they'd stick your fingers in there like you were playing, but then they would clamp this thingy over your fingers so that you were forced to just be like that all the time. And so I guess it wouldn't be very comfortable, and if you were sleeping, you couldn't stretch out your hands good. And so yes, that would suck. But it's not the worst kind of sucking, but it's not the best kind. So there was a couple things. So then the storylines, and then they would parade you around town, and then the villagers would throw rotten fruit at you, fruit and vegetables. And I just was sitting there thinking about this, and I just realized a lot of these old stories, I can't really quite see how they would work. So, like this one, I'm not sure I really see how they're going to hold all your fingers in, even like you have short fingers, fat fingers, then maybe it's a little adjustable, but I'm kind of confused how all your fingers are going to be held. Like maybe you can get 2 of the biggest ones, but the rest of them aren't going to be tight in there, I don't think. And then this is such a spacing, it's going to be hard. I don't know. So that was that. Okay, I'm a little confused how this would work on every set of fingers. Okay. And then the second thing is that I've always heard the story, you're paraded around town and they throw fruits and vegetables at you. And I'm like, I just realized that story, I mean, like, is it totally fabricated? Because I just thought about this. I'm like, how many people have rotten fruits and vegetables around ready to throw? Like, generally speaking, in the old days, if you didn't have a lot of food, you'd probably be pretty careful about getting that stuff eaten before it got rotten. Okay? If you were, if food was really an issue. The second thing, though, is if vegetables and fruits do start to rot to the point you can't eat them anymore, and you're not going to cut off the bad spot and eat them, they're just rotted, then they're stinky, and the flies get on them, and you don't keep those things around. You're going to either give them to an animal that can eat them, or you're going to put them in the mulch pile. You're not going to have them in the house sitting around. You certainly aren't going to be carrying them on your person such that if somebody is pushed through town, you'll have them ready to fling. And rotten fruits, good luck throwing a rotten fruit. They're all slimy. You throw it, half of it's going to splatter back on you. So, vegetables are all wormy and moldy. Are you going to be carrying those around? They didn't have saran wrap back then. You're going to have your special little bin of moldy fruits just in case. It's like, no, you wouldn't have those. So, like, I mean, it doesn't make sense. You can throw rocks. You could throw dirt clods. I could see any of those. But rotten fruits and vegetables, who has those? To any large degree. Maybe once in a while somebody might have one that has just gone off and they're not quite going to eat it, but that whole trope does not make sense to me now that I'm thinking about it. Should have just busted up there. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Speaking of rotten vegetables, bananas are so weird. The bottoms turn black as if dipped in black paint. The rest is still greenish. I have not seen that. I did notice the bottom turning black, though. I did notice that lately. Now that you mention it. The top wasn't green, though. The top had turned yellow. But I did notice it used to kind of turn black, like streaks evenly. But the bottom now is doing it. So I agree with you there. So they look not too bad, and then you pick them up and you're like, oh, this one is pretty far gone. I had so many weird things I wanted to bring up, but now my mind is blank. That is why I write them down. That is absolutely why I write them down. Literally, sometimes someone will say, what are you going to have on your show today? And I'm like, and suddenly I can't think of a thing. But it's written down on the paper, so that saves me. And some of them are saved, like in my Reddit account or something. So if I lost the paper, I would often have a few anyway. And the ones that you guys put on the comments. Inside's rotten while the banana not even ripe. Yeah, so that's kind of the thing. Like, I have noticed that, like, they don't look like they're going to be too bad, but then I pick them up, the bottom's black, and then the inside is pretty far gone. Like, you could eat it, but it is not the way I like them when they're all mushy. So, yeah, that was, Mark Tyus found that one. You know, those keep changing because then they're like, oh, that coffin with all the nails, oh, that was actually never used. But now they have this thing, oh, that was used. Like, what? Why would we have all these fake ones that are just myths, but we don't even know about the real ones? Bananas taste weird. I can never tell if it's me or they change something. Is it like a shift? I will tell you that I have gone off of interest of bananas. I used to love bananas. Now I'm like, nah. But my tastes are always changing, so. Shari, is glycine a magnesium? No, glycine is an amino acid. Now, they do have magnesium glycinate, and it is a popular magnesium, and I think it has a glycine on it. Let's see. So that might be a good twofer. You know, I've noticed that a lot of people swear by the glycinate version of magnesium. And that might be why, because you get a free glycine. Magnesium glycine is a compound formed by combining magnesium and glycine, an amino acid with sleep-promoting effects. So it's not exactly a sleep-promoting. Like, it doesn't make you sleepy. But it does just kind of even out your mood. And so if you're attempting to sleep and you're anxious and stuff, it can help with that. But it can also be a little bit of an energizer. I don't think paired with magnesium, it would be enough to really ramp you up, though. That, you know, actually, so yes, there's been a lot of talk lately in certain circles about the need for additional glycine in the diet. I think I talked about that last week. So, and as I've said, I've often seen many people really love the glycinate. There's different kinds of magnesium. There's, you know, magnesium glycinate. There's magnesium malate. There's magnesium oxide. And supposedly the oxide version doesn't digest very well, but it is the cheapest, so most of them have that. I actually really like the malate for myself, but I probably would have been better off if I was consuming the glycinate all this time. I don't know. I'm doing the glycine separate, though, and I'm really loving it. I feel a lot better. I have more energy. My brain is working much better now. Much better. So, yeah, I needed that glycine, apparently. If you have brain fog, I would definitely give it a try. So, they're saying we need like 10, what was it? How much was the glycine? 10 grams a day or some kind of ridiculous amount. And nobody gets that. Oh, 3. Okay, some places say you need. So supposedly your body can make it, but only about 2 grams a day. And your needs are like 10 to 12 grams a day. Now that's what some people say. So supplementation with 10 grams of glycine per day has been shown to increase brain glycine creatine ratios, protects joints against wear and tear, blah, blah, blah. So really good for joints. Also glycine and what was that other one? Glycine plus one other makes creatine. And it was one of the other aminos. And I started occasionally taking that other one. And that one is really helping too. I don't think I need to do it every day for that one. But, creatine. Nope. It was one of the other aminos, though. One of the long words. The name is long. Ugh, I can't remember now. So apparently I had some kind of problem with the aminos. Too many branch chain aminos, not enough the other aminos. I'm not sure. Magnesium also very important. Yes. Shari takes, so you take the yeah, I don't know. I've just been doing a lot better since I started adding in the glycine. Avoiding, you need some branch chain aminos. You can't not have them, but it seemed like maybe there was an imbalance. I really don't know if it's for everybody, but boy, it's been helping me a lot. So if it helps other people, that would be great. So basically the idea is like muscle meat that we eat now just is low in glycine compared to the others, and it throws everything off. And you need glycine for joints, membranes, collagen, everything. When I started taking it, I could feel right away like this weird, like I just felt more put together. Like I felt so much more sturdy. This is interesting because I'm on this shame flute thing, and it's all these Bernstein people. I wish my L. Bernstein. I'm like, okay. All right, so this one came from. I'm out of order. I usually just go along one at a time, but now I'm like jumping all over. Okay, this one is from April Vasquez, commenter on the channel. Now, we have covered these kangaroos and their giant biceps before, but what she saw was she was looking at a video. Let's see if I can find that one. Here it is. And she thought she saw tusks, and she said it was a kangaroo attacking a window. So I'm like, well, why is a kangaroo attacking a window? I don't recall kangaroos attacking a window. So here's the thing, there was more than one video of a kangaroo attacking windows, because apparently they're like those male birds that just see their reflection and attack windows. So although some creatures like alligators and sharks have become less aggressive, and you could pet them and brush their little teeth and snuggle with them, at least if they're pets, which they never could do before. But some of these other beasts, like these roos, are getting meaner and meaner and meaner. And this guy, you can see right here, there's like little white streak on the snout. It would be really easy to think that was a tusk. I don't think it is right now, but I can totally see why somebody said that and went, oh, it's a tusk. They have tusks. Okay, so this guy is attacking a window because apparently they're so stupid that they see their reflection and attack it. Now, you could see why she thought there was tusks. You can see one here, one here. So I'm pretty sure that's not a tusk in this reality, but it is very suspiciously looking like a tusk. You can totally see, it really looks like a tusk there. Why does this beast suddenly have tusky white lines? Now, none of the other beasts I saw had. I mean, it's really prominent on this guy. So you can't blame anybody for thinking those are tusks. And we do know that they don't have tusks. Well, at least they didn't used to. You can see the giant beefy arms. So I thought that was interesting. And then I kind of looked again, and this is another one. This guy, it looks like he has a tusk, sort of. But then it's apparently just a twig that he has in his mouth that continues on over here. This guy attacked this woman, so I guess in the current timeline, these roos attack people often. Even when you're minding your own beeswax. And not just because you pestered them, but they chase you. I saw the kangaroo out of the corner of my eye. I didn't think of much of it. As it started getting closer and closer. And then it jumped a fence. That's when I started panic. I felt it hit me in the back, and it actually knocked me to the ground. It continued to follow her towards the neighbor's home. She thinks it might have been attracted to her perfume. I'm like, now it's like a bear. It smells of perfume. It attacks you. I don't know. So basically it attacked this poor woman. And I kind of clicked on it for that. And also because I'm just kind of wondering, are we near a timeline when they have tusks? 'Cause there's a bunch of video and stuff of them that they almost have a tusk, but they don't. His ears are kind of fat too. I don't really remember it being fat like that. Here's another one that smashed a window and then went psycho in their house and got cut up and there's blood everywhere and all kinds of stuff. So this could be another one where it saw its reflection, especially if there's a white backing back here. It would be easier to think that's you. So they're kind of like bears now, I guess. They just bash into your house and stuff. Now we have a mob of kangaroos attacking townspeople, broke a woman's leg. Townspeople are afraid to come out of their house without sticks or, you know, some kind of weapon. And they're saying it's not males, it's females. There's calls to cull the population because of all the attacks. Of course, you have the obligatory commenter, well, you know, you invaded their territory. And I always didn't quite understand that whole thing. Like, anytime any animal attacks, it's like, well, we invaded their territory. Well, here's the thing. My house has been there for like 60 years. So if there was going to be them, like, I invaded their territory and then they attacked my property or somebody on it, shouldn't that have happened 60 years ago when we first invaded? I mean, so much later now, suddenly it's Roo attack. It doesn't, that story does not hold water for me. So if they were always able to tolerate humans, I think that they would have invaded into properties without us invading into theirs, because there's always pressure on the population to expand. So they would have already done it. We wouldn't have had to invade into their property for them to want to invade on ours. And if they're averse to humans and we expand our territory, that's just going to push them back. And it sucks to be them, but that I don't see how that they're suddenly going to go, oh yeah, I'm going to kick your butt. So that whole storyline, although massively popular, I feel like when you really look at that storyline, and it's such a trope, like every last time you ever hear of any animal attacking, well, you invaded his territory. And yet it really is not that logical. So yeah, the roos, they're just getting ridiculous. So here is one other. This is the one I believe that so April saw this one, and I believe, did somebody else find this one? I think she saw the tusks. I thought somebody else pointed this one out to me. And unfortunately, I don't think I wrote it down. Maybe it was April. This one's, I'm pretty sure this one's not mine. So if I forgot to say who it was, I apologize. But it might have been Mark Tyus. He finds so many. This one, it's not just men who flex their biceps at women. Kangaroos do it. So it's like, apparently now they go around and go, like bodybuilders, look at my giant arms. I feel like we're getting trolled here. Now it's official. They the last couple of years, suddenly they have massive biceps, and now they have to show them off. Now this guy even looks next level from the last time I saw one. Like the last time I saw one this big, he was like the biggest one around, but now they're all like this. And then some of them are like this. So these are like the animal version of the human meathead, apparently. They have giant biceps. They didn't skip leg day, and they attack stuff and fight willy-nilly. But now it's official. They pose. They strike poses. Now, I really remember them being like this before. Like, not like this. They used to have smaller arms, and they were more like, you know, like this. Now they have these giant effing claws. But also, going back to that whole tusk thing, so I was kind of looking at the skull, because she thought she saw tusks. It looks to me like they weren't, but I'm like, well, what's going on with the skull? So they have a weird skull, and I'm wondering if maybe we're going to see something coming out here. So here, this is weird because I have not seen, like, it looks like there's teeth that come out the bottom of the jaw straight ahead. It's starting to remind me of the hippopotamus weird teeth. So these are like stabby teeth here. So what's going on with that? What are they doing with those teeth? I mean, they're almost like a woodpecker here or something. They've got this stabby tooth. I have never seen these outside of the mouth when the whole animal is still together. And I feel like sooner or later we're going to see something going on with these weird pokey teeth. What would be the purpose of those? They're not the normal fangs. And then this is like totally separate here. Now, maybe we will start to see some kind of, they're calling these fangs. There's more than 2 of them, obviously. It's a very bizarre skull in here. And if that's not weird enough, the news story now is that these teeth are like shark teeth. They push along, then they get worn down, and apparently they lose those, and then new ones grow in the back. So it used to be once upon a time that only sharks had that style of tooth, but now even kangaroos do. Okay, so I think these are the incisors here, the ones that usually would be across the front. So maybe they're not calling those fangs. Unique incisor teeth which have adapted to make pulling up tough or short blades of grass much easier. 3 pairs of incisors and 1 pair on the lower jaw. So this must be, they're calling these incisors, is made to pull up grass. So maybe this tooth like scoops under the grass and then these teeth gnash it. But kind of weird. Kangaroos lack canine teeth, although sometimes they have 1 or 2 very small canines. Even if they have small canines, there is still a significant gap between the front teeth and the cheek teeth. So sometimes they have small canines, but where are they? Where would the canine be in here? I actually hadn't read that sentence, so just now. Lower incisors are larger than the rest of their teeth. The middle pair of incisors on the upper jaw are slightly larger than the rest of their upper incisors, blah, blah. The upper incisors have wide cutting edges. When the kangaroos bite, their lower incisors don't actually meet their upper teeth. Instead, they press onto a tough pad on the roof of their mouth just behind the front pair of incisors. This creates a shearing action which can tear even the toughest grass or shrubs. However, the way they lower incisors are positioned inside the arc of the upper incisors limits sideways motion. This means that kangaroos choose mostly with a forward and backward motion with only a slight sideways action. So they're basically saying this one clamps onto some upper mouth structure, and that's how they shear off the grass. And they don't describe what these are for, because if these don't touch these, then all the chewing is happening from the shearing is here, the grinding is back there. So what's that for? It's kind of skipped. All right, the molars are in the back. Kangaroos actually only use the front 2 molars, with the last 2 being replacements. Unlike other herbivores, kangaroos wear their front molars down to the roots, and they eventually drop out. As the front ones fall out, the molars from the rear of the jaw move forward to take their place. It's like a Pez container. One of the Pez's fall out and more snap forward. The first molars are generally shed around the age of 7. By the time kangaroos reach 12, they only have the last 2 molars remaining. Oh, so it's not an endless supply of Pez. Eventually, these two are worn down to the roots and drop out. What then happens is the kangaroo is unable to eat and starves. Interesting. So I guess if you just kept adding, like if you could add more teeth back there, then they could live longer. I think if I understand correctly, horses often die from that too. They basically run out of teeth grinding ability, no more teeth, and they cannot process their food. I mean, that just kind of sucks. I mean, I wouldn't want to go that way. Suddenly I can't eat. Anyway, so something's going on with them, and I'm just like very curious. Kangaroo, canine. Let me just see if I can find anything on canine teeth. Yeah, I think I looked before, and so these are deer. There's a lot of canine teeth, but there's not. See, it said they sometimes have little canine teeth, but like, where are they? That video that she found, when I really looked, it didn't look like they were canines because, first of all, they would be up from below. And there isn't any teeth that would come that way on the skull. I kind of feel like we'll look back at it one of these days and then it'll look different. So I would say right now that her video, it is just like some kind of weird snout coloration. But it is mighty suspicious, the location of those stripes. I'm highly skeptical that that is just a random placement. Well, there were Tasmanian tigers and devils in Australia. So I am kind of vague on the devils. Were they extinct way back? I think so, but I didn't really track it. Now, they're not extinct now. The tigers, I only really heard about those about 15 years ago as being extinct. They may come back. Dingoes used to be said to be from settlers' wild dogs, but now they're saying that they're more native and they're not from wild dogs. Ancient kangaroos used to eat meat. That's the first I ever heard of this story. That they used to eat meat. I've never heard of that. So I'm suspicious on that too, with the change in the teeth and the whole behavior thing. It's like a whole other animal now. They've got that tail that's like a whole nother foot. Talking about ancient times, apparently Russians are releasing infos about Tartaria, and you can find that when you search on Yandex. Yeah, so Yandex.com is the Russian search engine, and I do like using them because it is quite possible that they do censor, but they don't censor on stuff we care about. They don't censor on any bad stuff about America. So if you want to hear any crap about America, go to the Russian search engine. And most of us are really not digging up crap on Russia. So if they censored it or not, we're not going to notice. And I really don't know. Like, I haven't used them long enough and enough to really know if they've changed over time. I have to say it is interesting, though, because we used to rag on Russia for their censorship. But now they just seem like mild compared to what we're dealing with in many of the Western countries and YouTube and stuff like that. Because there's only you just kind of like some of these countries just don't talk real bad about the government of your country. But you could still disagree on other stuff as long as you didn't say like, I hope Putin dies or something, you know, just kind of avoid those. And people kind of knew, and it was very stable over the many, many decades. Just stay away from these few things. But in the Western side, I mean, like, what you can't say changes every 2 years. It's like, oh, now this is going to get you punted off of YouTube. Now this is going to get you punted off of YouTube. Now I've got this long list of crap that can get me punted off of YouTube. And then maybe they'll slide one back on, but then maybe they'll add one and something I said 8 years ago violated this one, you know, so it's tricky. Yeah, so I did see that one. I did read about that ancient kangaroos thing. It's just, you know, there's so much to talk about in so little time. Mobs of kangaroo. Okay, so I did you. We did you. got that one. Got that one. That one. All right. This one kind of flipped me out because I do remember grizzly bears in California. Like in my lifetime, when I researched camping up north, I used to live up north, okay? So I'd research camping. What do we got to know? One of the things that they have there that I don't have much experience with is bears. Like, we don't have them down in the south end, at least not yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they showed up, but not yet. And I did camp some when I was younger, and it was not mentioned. It did not even occur to me that bears might come, but I have camped up. So I don't, was it not an issue? Was my parents just ignorant themselves? Some of the other campers, like, I don't remember doing anything about bears. We didn't, like, no one said don't have food in your tent. We had food in the truck. We did not lock and load our food in the cooler. We just closed the lid like normal people. But we were in bear country, like Lake Shasta and stuff. I'm pretty sure there's still bunches of bears there. Lake Shasta bears. All of the 47 acres are within Shasta Forest. Yeah. Castle Lake is the surrounding area. Contains a wide variety of animals, plants, including trout, bears, deer, otter, frogs. Okay, so yes, it's all bear country. So when I got older, I started reading about bear attacks and, bears ripping open cars and biting people in tents. And some of these areas that I heard it happen were areas I had camped before. So I started researching it, and one of the things they talked about is grizzly versus black bears. That black bears were less aggressive. They were easier to scare off and make a loud noise, rah, rah, rah. They'll probably go away. Whereas grizzlies, that was less effective. And maybe if it comes after you, your better chance is to lay down and play dead because they aren't easily scared off. And the best bet would be for them to just think that, you're not a threat at all. And maybe they'll leave you alone. Okay, so I kind of had researched all that. And the reason I researched all that is because there were grizzlies. They're like, these are the two bears, grizzly and black. Okay? Apparently now they're saying that grizzly bears were extinct in California since the 20s. And there's not just one grizzly bear anymore. It used to be grizzly bears or grizzly bears. But now there's California grizzly bear and a whole bunch of others. But they're extinct! So, like, that's news to me. California grizzly. I should actually check to see, because I think I looked this up and there were no bears. The human population of California increased. Conflicts between bears and humans escalated. The bears were hunted and killed. Has been extinct for a generation. So 1920s, long before I was born, Dems has been dead. I should double check. I'm pretty sure I looked this up. Yeah, there are none in. Yeah, I did look this up last week. So part of the reason that shocked me is because they were talking, I think it was New York, they're talking about reintroducing grizzly bears back into New York. I'm like, okay, I can't swear that there were not grizzlies in New York. Obviously, the rural people aren't really loving the idea of having the grizzly bear back. Because grizzlies are, at least in the last timeline I checked, they were fairly mean. They rip into your house. They kick your butt. They kill people. They like food in your pantry, and your front door does not stop them. They'll just rip out the window. They'll rip out the door because I smell food and I'm hungry, and you can't stop me. And so people will have their houses repeatedly broken into. They will board up doors. It's not enough. Or you put some food out in your storage area with 16 boards clamped over it, and they still rip that crap off and get in there. Because to them, it only takes like a few minutes to rip off all your boards, go in there and shout out. So people don't want them. So I'm like, well, California, I don't know, some reason I looked up California bears because of that. And it said they were talking about reintroducing the California grizzly. So the California grizzly, I guess, is extinct, so they were going to reintroduce other bears. Could California bring back grizzly bears? So now there's all these different grizzlies. UCSB research says it's not possible. We had them in here not that long ago in my timeline. Now, granted, California used to go a lot further north, but there are plenty of forests and stuff in Northern California. Even now, not possible. On the eve of the gold rush, there was one grizzly for every 11 people. Of course, there weren't that many people back then. 10,000 grizzlies lived in the state before the gold rush. The last credible sighting of a grizzly bear was in 1924. They were all driven out of California primarily by persecution. So, you know, our state flag is the bear, which we had. I'm kind of freaking out about it. I'm like, no, we have those. Now I'm trying to see why they're going to say that we can't have bears back. Not that I'm really eager to see those mean boys back. 1975, grizzly bears were added to the endangered species list as threatened. Some states are now seeing those numbers grow. So, Idaho, Montana, blah, blah, blah. California has had success with other species recoveries, like California condor, beavers, Thule elk. We have Thule elk? Thule elk. Thule elk. I do not recall us having any elk. Okay. I thought that was like Canada and stuff. Thule elk. However, reintroducing grizzlies to California would be difficult and require an extended period of planning. It would require a lot of steps. It would require action by the federal and state governments. It would require buy-in from a lot of people. Okay, so all the same stuff that was just overcome in New York. And none of that says it's not possible. You know, it's just another one of these articles where the actual writing does not fit the title. I don't know why I'm not shocked. But anyway, so yeah, weird. I'm quite positive we had grizzlies. Our grizzlies. The grizzlies. Let's see some California security cams like in India with tigers dragging people away. So yeah, grizzlies though, they don't really, I don't know, like I've heard stories of them eating people, but a lot of times they just kill you. Yeah, Thule elk. Good point. Thule elk. Thule elk. I don't remember. What's a Thule elk? I've never heard of a Thule elk. The Thule elk of California. So we lost our grizzlies, but we got elk. Somehow I feel like we're going to get back our grizzlies, though, one way or another. Citizen's Guide to Thule elk. Thule elk, a flagship species for North America, a California endemic native species. We did not have elk. Oh my god. Thule elk, our flagship, symbol of conservation efforts. There were originally 6 subspecies of North American Thule elk. 4 are still alive. There was 0. Ecological goal. All right, let's see what. Oh my god. So what? So are they going to attack people? Because they got rid of the grizzly. Now elk have been getting meaner and meaner, it seems like. So we got another mean guy. So sharks have gotten nicer, alligators have gotten nicer, but orcas have been attacking ships, and kangaroos have been attacking people. Birds attack people. We kind of have like this shuffle of meanness. Like these guys are nicer, these guys are meaner. is a subspecies of elk only found in California. Ranging from the grass and marshlands of the Central Valley in the interior of California. Where exactly is the Central Valley? Derived from the species of sedge called tule, on which the tule elk feeds. There used to be 500,000 tule elk. No, there wasn't. But by 1870, they were thought to be extirpated. What does that word mean? Extirpated. Exterminated? Extirpated. It kind of feels like it's a word, though. Extirpated. Extirpated. Destroyed. Non-existent. Eliminated. So it's another fancy word for eliminated. Extirpated. That one's a new one for me. All right. However, a single breeding pair was discovered in the marshes of Buena Vista Lake in San Joaquin Valley. So that's the Central Valley home. You know, they're not even way up north then. San Joaquin Valley. Let's see. Let me just look where that is. Oh, I can never spell San Joaquin. J-O-A. Keen. Valley. Fresno. Okay, so... Oh, it's big. I've noticed there's been, like... Lately, when I look at the maps, you can look at the old maps. It looks like this was all underwater back in here. And then some of the old maps showed this as an island here. So I think that might be the... It's like this area is denting in, and then the lakes along here are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So they're saying it's the past, but it kind of looks like it might be the future, because it's... I don't remember a valley that long in here. And then the mountains are getting really high next to it. Okay, so tule elk are in this whole area. So that's like way down here even. Dang. That's the Central Valley, which they're saying it was in. Okay. So tule elk are all along there. All right, so this is the San Joaquin Basin. Sacramento. Yeah, so, you know. All right. Sorry, this is probably not that interesting if you're not a Californian, but... Okay, how many do we have now? Lone Pine. Whoa, Lone Pine, Bishop. That's not that far up there. So one breeding pair. Now, I don't think they're going to say that they recovered them all from one breeding pair. It's considered the smallest elk subspecies. There used to just be one elk. It was elk, not millions of kinds. Range and population. By 86, numbers had increased to over 2,000 individuals due to successful reintroduction programs. Have you ever heard of like this saving the tule elk in California? As I sure have not, considering there was only one breeding pair at one time. 2 male and 8 female were translocated from Merced to Tomales Point on Point Reyes. The elk showed signs of copper deficiency due to nutritional stress. One explanation was the molybdenum, which expresses as copper deficiency. A molybdenum mine existed in the area. Alright, but it looked like that later it picked up, so I don't know. Okay, bizarre. Current population. So what is the current range of Thule elk? Can we see where they're at? Elk hunt zones? Elk hunt zones. So we're allowed to hunt these things? No. No way. Elk hunt zones. All right. So I guess they're not that at risk. You can hunt them. Thule. Elk subspecies. Whoa. Whoa. Wait, we have Rocky Mountain and Roosevelt elks? Whoa. What the heck? So we have other elks. We have a bunch of elks. All right, I'm going to have to look into this. So we have a bunch of elk. Okay, you know, I watch these things on TV all the time about how dangerous elks are. Like, usually it's in Canada. And I'm like, well, it's not my problem because we don't have elk. So unless I'm traveling somewhere that has elk, I don't have to worry. But apparently Cali does have them now. Wait, didn't I just have a map for those? All right, I'm going to have to... Oh, here. All right, too large. Now, I'm going to have to dig into that, see how far south they... I'm like, do we even have them around here? Death Valley was in Arizona. That could be Death Valley. Way back. Arizona. Darn, I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure. I mean, I do... The general area of it hasn't changed. I just remember driving north and east, and there it was. But it was a long time ago, and I didn't spend a lot of time worrying about the border was. I just worried about, you know, are we there yet? Is in Eastern California in the northern Mojave Desert bordering the Great Basin. I do remember it being by the Mojave. I can't say for sure on that one. But yeah, it's definitely in California now. Yeah, I'll definitely tell you that it's crazy town in California. There's a weird energy. I don't know if I kind of feel like when I go to Arizona, it just seems more like normal. Like maybe California used to be like that, and it reminds me of more like I remember, just not weird. And it's just the energy, because even if I drive around and people seem normal, there's just something about here. All right, so other people don't remember any elk. So there's 3 kinds now. And, you know, pretty far down the map. I'm going to have to dig and see how far down they go. In my timeline, there was 2 square states between California and Washington. Yeah, Washington was, like, further east. They weren't on top of us. We had all that area. Okay, so we lost our grizzlies, but it was a special grizzly. But we got elks. Okay. You know, I'm not really missing the grizzlies because they're pretty mean, but at least the elk, they don't usually come in and burst into your house and rip your door down. At least not yet. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's weird because I have this weird feeling like the circumstances have kind of made it really hard for me to get out of here. I kind of feel like I'm supposed to be here, even though I really like visiting away from here. But I just have this weird feeling like I got to be here. I don't know. I definitely, part of it is I have a lot of friends here. But, a lot of them are older. So I don't know, how long they're going to be around for. And I definitely am looking at places to move, yet it just feels wrong. I don't know how to describe it. Okay, so what do we got here? I've got a half hour left. Did that one. Okay, another weird guy. Another weird guy. Now, I'm trying to remember if we covered these. I kind of vaguely thought that we might have covered these, but apparently, it used to just be that the electric eels were the special because they could electrify. And I know we've covered a couple other creatures that could electrify, but apparently there's a big stash of stingray type beasts that also can electrify you if you touch them. So it's not bad enough that stingrays might like stab you with a super spiky spike on the end of their tail wang, but they also sometimes can electrify you. And there's a whole range of them, but one's called coffin ray. But there's a bunch of these electric rays. Let me just see how many there even are. Group of rays with enlarged pectoral fins. And I think you've probably seen the speckly one here, a lesser electric ray. Capable of producing an electric discharge ranging from 8 to 220 volts. Now, my electrician skills aren't that great, but 220, that is like the house electric socket in a house in America, I believe, correct? Like, it's not the power coming into the house. That would toast you like, charcoal briquettes. But if you poke your finger in the socket, it's enough to make you really, really hate it. Not enough to like kill you as long as it's temporary, but so it's called, that thing was called coffin ray or numb ray. And you definitely, I don't know if I call it numb, but I wouldn't want to have suddenly, can you imagine you're walking along the sand and suddenly you get electrocuted as if you just stuck your finger into a outlet? That would not be cool. In folklore, they're magical creatures. Its ability to numb fishermen with seeming to touch them, without seeming to touch them. Occult qualities. Position of 2 electric organs. Kidney-shaped electric organs on each side of its head, where current passes from the lower to the upper surface of the body. The nerves that signal... even how these things can electrify you and not fry their own self is even amazing. An electric ray may electrocute larger prey with a voltage between 8 and some narcinids to 220 volts in Torpedo nobiliana, the Atlantic torpedo. There are 60 species of electric rays in 2 genera. Do I dare look at the electric fish? Eels, knifefish. Oh, and they not only electrocute you, but they can do echolocation to stun their prey. So they're not just, they're like undersea bat electrical fish. And electric fish is any fish that can generate electrical fields. Most electrical fish also are also electroreceptive, meaning they can sense electric fields. The only exception is the stargazer. So they've upgraded these. Not only do they shock you, but now they've got magical electric sensory powers. And it looks like there's a boatload of these things too. There's the skates and rays. There's the elephant fishes. African knifefish. And then the eels. Stargazers. These are some weird fish we've been seeing with the giant weird snouts and stuff that showed up. Okay, so everything in its uncle now could basically electrocute you. Joe Bloor, you and I fell through the same Emmy, same for me with Death Valley in Vegas. Vegas did not have that giant lake. And that one makes me laugh because it's like, oh, it's a desert and there's no water, and why is there a giant civilization and that's stupid? And now there's a big fucking effing lake out there. It's like, oh, okay, well, the universe better slap a lake down there to go with all those people. Let's have an electric eel farm. It's like some kind of torture device. Marissa turns on the microwave, and so now we must poke 4 eels to get the power for the microwave. Oh my god. Sounds like some kind of grizzly evil, pardon the pun with the grizzly, evil Doctor Who episode where the whole world is powered on poking electric rays. Okay, Coffin Ray. So that one was called Coffin Ray, but as you can see, there's a whole bunch of them. I did that one. Flute of Shame. Oh, okay, there's only one left. Let me see if I've covered. So Flute of Shame was by Mark Tyus. We got that. We got that one. I think everybody got their attributions except for maybe that one, which I already said I wasn't sure on. Okay, there's one left. I was going to do a little research on this, but I threw it in there real fast and I didn't get the research done. But I saw this one retconned by somebody, and then I saw it on my comments, and it's by that user-ZX8SI1ZY5E person that comes up with a lot of them. And it was the movie Speed 3. Do you remember a movie Speed 3? So I didn't really watch that movie that much. Like, I wasn't into the whole... I saw part of Speed 1 and that was it. But the main thing is a bunch of people apparently remember Speed 3. And if you remember Speed 3, like, what was it about? Because there is no Speed 3, apparently, in this timeline. Let me actually double check it, because I have done, like, zero research on this, but... Speed 3. Aha, yes. So, Speed 3 could happen, depending on the story. Keanu Reeves jokes about returning for Speed 3. So, Keanu Reeves open to making... So, yeah, it doesn't look like it was made. Oh, it looks like there's a parody, but they're talking about a real one. So, I kind of remember... Oh, it's Speed 3 is the 3rd episode of the 3rd series of a Channel 4 sitcom, Father and Ted. Okay, so it's not an actual Speed 3 movie with Keanu Reeves or anything. It's an episode of a show that's joking about the movie. So you wouldn't get confused because it's no Keanu Reeves and there's no... It's not the movie. All right. So if anybody remembers Speed 3, what happened in it? I mean to go around. I was trying to go around and ask everybody who remembers it as existing. Because for me, I do kind of remember one, but this is really one where I'm a little vague on it, and I certainly wouldn't swear on any of it. JoJo's, good night. Yeah, Shazam. So that's another one. Like, I didn't watch Shazam. I remember seeing it. I worked in a video store. Ironically, very similar to the person who first noticed it missing. He worked in a video store. I worked in a video store. I remember thinking, you know, that's not going to sell. It didn't. But I never watched it because it wasn't my style. Speed 2 was on cruise. What was the Speed 3 about? Yeah, so people remember there being a Speed 3, and now there isn't. So you can't look it up. American Graffiti 2, more American Graffiti, never in my past. So I've seen stuff show up. More Michael Jackson videos. Some more songs. He did more in this reality. For whatever reason. There's more Star Trek. There's one more season of the original Star Trek for me. I'm sure there's a bunch of others because I'm just not the most media or a movie savvy and TV savvy person out there. If I was, I probably would know of a lot more of them. There's only a few where I really knew them well enough to really know if they changed. And those are two of them. But if there was that many for me, there's got to be a lot. There's got to be so many. So, like, all the later videos he made weren't in my timeline. Like, there's like 4 or 5 of them. I'm like, it's bizarre to see it. You know, it's like. So, yes, that's it for me. I actually, now that I'm more awake, I actually talk faster and jam through these things a little quicker so I can get through more Mandelas in less time. I remember Laughlin, Nevada had a man-made river, but no natural lakes. I don't know about the river. I know they didn't have any big lakes. Like, if you looked on the map, you did not see, like, a bunch of blue stuff. There was no lake there. And that was always the thing. Like, that Las Vegas was stupid because why put a bunch of people out in the desert when there's no water and humans are horrible and blah, blah, blah. But you could have seen, you know, reality will plop in a lake if you need one. So I've totally given up on this whole narrative of hating on humans. Humans and this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I certainly know that we're not perfect and we have a lot of issues, but it seems clear that we can make what we want make if we put our attention on it. And there's a lake there now because there needed to be a lake there. And every time there's a fear porn that something horrible thing's going to happen in 10 years, we always find a solution. Like, a solution shows up. You know, oh no, Arctica ice is going to melt and drown the whole world. Arctica ice disappeared and never existed. Problem solved. So, I guess we just like to scare ourselves, but then we don't want to actually have it happen. It's like watching a horror movie. You kind of want to get scared about the movie, but you don't actually want the movie to come to pass. It kind of seems like a lot of the fear porn in the current reality is like that. It has been all my life. The oh no, and then, oh no, just kidding. It's not real. It literally disappeared. Check the Nipa palm plant. That kind of sounds familiar, actually. Nipa palm. Yeah, we got 19 minutes. Nipa with a Y. Nipa fruticans. Nipa palm or mango. An evergreen shrub that is native to the coastlines. Is the only palm considered adapted to the mangrove biome. Okay, what's the deal with it? Fruticans. Okay, it sounds like it's got edible stuff in it. Oldest palm species. Component of mangrove forests of Asia and Oceania that never even existed. Introduced in West Africa. Its sap produces an intoxicating beverage. Sugar, vinegar, and alcohol that may be used as fuel. Interesting. Alright, let's go over here. The trunk grows beneath the ground. Oh, that's weird. Only the leaves and flower grow upwards above the surface. Huh. The trunk and stem under the mud. Fossil record. Yeah. I've not heard of this thing. Long-tailed macaques eat the fruit. Used by local populations as roof material for thatched houses. Basketry, because they are buoyant. Large stems are used to train swimmers in Burma. Nipa palm sap is fed to pigs during the dry season. This is said to impart a sweet flavor to the meat. Well, if pigs can eat the sap, can we eat the sap? The young leaves are dried, bleached, and cut to wrap tobacco for smoking. The palm is called chalk. Its late leaves are used to cover roofs. Younger flower stalk and hard seeds are edible and provide hydration. Hydration. Okay, so the stalk, I would assume then. So you can get water out of it. Yeah, this definitely seems like a very useful plant. Here we go. The inflorescence can be tapped to yield a sweet edible sap. Edible sap collected to produce a local alcoholic beverage called tuba, bahal, or tuak. Ready when the... So, okay, so it's kind of like the oceanic version of maple syrup from Canada. The cluster is cut from a stalk 6 inches down. Mud is rubbed on the stalk to reduce sap flow. The sap begins flowing immediately. A bamboo tube or bottle is fitted over the cut stalk. Sap collected twice daily. Sap flow will continue for 30 days per stalk. Not bad. The nipa flowers continuously through the year. So, styling. Continuous supply of sap. Nipa palm produces a very high yield of sugar-rich sap. Okay, so you can make it into alcohol and use it as fuel. Wow, yeah, I know, I've not heard of that, and that's pretty styling. It really should have been on, like, a million different documentaries and stuff, but no. Yeah, it's like porn. It's an addiction. Fear. Yeah, fear porn. That's what they call it. You know, it's addicting. And the negativity and just like going, oh, and then, you know, I've run into people like that. And there's a part of me that just has to say no, because they'll just be like, and then such and such going to happen, and then they're going to enslave us all, and then we're all going to be wage slaves, and then we'll this and this, and then they'll just go on and on and on. Like, this is going to happen for sure. In their mind, you know, we're all doomed to be like slaves with chains around our neck, and this and this and this and this. And like, I can see, you know, the thought process that got them there, but they basically pick out the worst case scenario, and then they convince themselves that that's going to happen for sure. And then they just keep running that through as a narrative in their mind that all these horrible things are for sure going to happen, which we don't know. And I've just kind of realized I just have to say, no, I'm not listening to the endless repeat cycle of the worst possible future you can imagine over and over and over again. And I think it's really unhealthy to do that. And you know, even if all of that stuff that he said is going to happen, he can't do crap about it. So might as well not think about it if you can't fix it, and then deal with it if it happens, because there's no sense in getting miserable early. You can wait until later. In terms of people being zombie-like, I know I often act that in public with extended family. People are so quick to take offense. It's easier to be superficial. That's true. Yeah, I do think. But there's just a weird energy, I think, and Nipa fruits. Wow. Alright, I'm gonna have to read that later, because I don't think I can just play their stuff. My brain is starting to get tired. It's slowing down. Why does that thing keep coming up? Alright, so it grows the way mushrooms grow. Yeah, except for, you know, mushrooms aren't an actual plant. And they don't need sunlight or photosynthesis or anything, but people were not like this in Canada. They scared the hell out of me. I think the way that people are just kind of blindly following the narratives on TV, no matter how illogical they are, freaks me out. And there's been a lot of politics where, you know, people agreed that we shouldn't have any more wars, and then 1 minute later they're like, yeah, well, this war's different, we need this one. I'm like, you just said, and their mind, they don't even acknowledge the change. Like in the past, at least you go, well, yeah, but I thought so, except for, but they don't even like process that they flipped. They don't seem to remember the reverse statements that they made. So that's one of the things that freaks me out. Nipa palm sugar cubes, natural sweetener by Natharvest. All right, I'll check into it. I'm trying to keep my fructose down, so if it has like less fructose, it'd be better. Won't leave home without shungite. Does it really help? It may be that if you really believe in something, that alone gives it the power to help you. It's the power of belief. And I don't mean that lightly. People always laugh at the placebo effect, but the placebo effect might be the most important power that we have on this earth. The power of belief might be all powerful, and the placebo effect is a hint of that. So I don't denigrate the placebo effect. People are like sheep, they fall without thinking. Yeah, it just seems like it's gotten a lot worse. People are just regularly just totally illogical, and when you try to point out to them, I think in the past they just go, oops, yeah, that's true, but I thought about it. But now they're not even aware, like you can't even make them aware of the illogic. And then they'll just say some third thing that's very illogical also, and you're just like, how does that make any sense? So it does freak me out. And I've kind of really fought with that this week. There were some things that some people said that just was like, on some issues I think are pretty important, and I just thought for sure that they would see, and they didn't, and it was just really frustrating to me, and I've kind of finally had to just accept, and I guess this is why it was so hard for me, was that people are not going to see like me. Like I'm kind of used to at least there being a fair number of people who see my point of view. And that is just not going to be the case anymore. There's like 2 people online that mostly I agree with. But I'm going to have to accept that any minute now they may just totally do a Yui and say crazy crap, because a lot of other people have, and it's just the way it is. And I don't know what's going on, but maybe we just really have to be like, what's right. And, no matter what anybody else says, you have to pick the energy that is kind and fair and not killing people and is not vengeful and hateful and negative and those bad things. Each one of us has to pick that route over and over every day on everything as much as we can. And we can't have the crutch of other people supporting us all the time. And maybe that's just the thing. I finally just accepted not to get upset if people don't agree with me, and not to rely on people agreeing with things I think is obvious. And I think if I can just keep that attitude, it's going to be easier, because when someone doesn't agree with me, I'm just going to be like, well, this is how it is here. And and I'm just going to have to deal with that, I'm just going to have to accept it. And I don't think I totally accepted it until this week. Now I'm pretty close to accepting it. I mean, I don't like it, but that's just going to have to be how it is, I guess. Rue drowning in a sea. I don't remember like kangaroos. So kangaroos used to be like, if you bug them, they might kick you. Like leave them alone. But now they're just doing all this crazy stuff like that. Like why didn't they just kick the dog and then move on with their life? It's just, they're just much more complicated and dangerous now. Maybe magnetic in the earth throwing off people. See, the other thing is, I don't even know if they're in my timeline. So like, say I have an opinion on some subject, and when I start talking to them, I find out they don't even know half the details I know about it. Like, well, did you know this person did this, 10 years ago, and then they don't even know about that stuff. when I tell them, that doesn't change their mind any. They just, you can see they're surprised. They didn't know, but they just gloss over that and they're clamped down harder. And I'm like, are they even in the same timeline? Are they even hearing the same words? Did they even see the same images that I did? I don't know. So then I'm like, well, maybe that's why they don't agree, because they're seeing another reality. And I don't know. Maybe it just makes it easier for me to deal with it that way, but maybe magnetic, they're throwing off people. I tend to think that is, just an opinion, but I tend to think that what we see in the physical world is actually a side effect of the mental and spiritual battle or changes or shifts or earthquakes or whatever. I don't think that it's causal so much as it is a manifestation of what is coming in internally. We are responsible for our acts and thoughts in life. I totally agree with you. I'm not responsible for what somebody else thinks. But I wanted that support of having people that agreed with me, at least on the basic stuff. I mean, they don't have to agree on what their favorite color is, but when it came to stuff that I thought was basic ethical logic on large scale things, I had traditionally, way back, was used to a large percentage of people agreeing with me on stuff like, this situation, this is horrible and we shouldn't do it. And I'm not finding that to be the case anymore. And that's what's really bothered me, is that lack of support. So I haven't changed my opinions, and I'm not going to. And maybe, if you give me a reasonable, fair, new information, I'll change it. But I'm not going to change that I think we should kill a bunch of innocent people just because of, I'm not going to excuse that. And I guess that's what bothers me, is I used to think that I had a lot of support in that, and I just haven't had that support. Even in people who agreed with that whole premise a month ago, now might not at all, and didn't have all these weird storylines why they wouldn't. And it's been hard. So maybe that's the challenge, though. Maybe the challenge is to stick with your principles and ethics despite nobody agreeing with you. It's just a lot more pleasant when you have some people to commiserate with reliably. And what I'm finding now is you're like, oh, this guy's going to agree. This person's going to agree with me because this is so obvious and self-evident. And let's commiserate about the insanity of the world. And then you find out that person doesn't agree with you. And they think it's fine to go kill people or whatever. And you just don't ever think they would have. And that's what's hard. So I've just kind of had to say, okay, no matter what it is, don't assume people are going to agree with you. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just getting too negative, but don't assume people are going to agree with you. Don't get surprised if they don't. I think I got past being judgy on it a while ago. It's just hard for me to be like alone on things. I think that's my main thing. And some of these people did not get the arm pokety, so I can't blame it on that. Everything that happens is meant to happen. Yeah, I kind of have to go, it's not my job to like be in charge of everybody else's opinion, but I do miss the support of that ability to commiserate and just go, I know, to be able to predict what people will think, at least not all of them, but, some. And be able to go to someone and go, can you believe this? This person said that, and that's wrong. And then they go, yeah, that's wrong. But no, I can't rely on that anymore. Not with anybody in my real life. So, yeah, I don't try to change people's minds so much. Sometimes I do, but I have to just let it go. But, what shocks me, though, is just that there are certain people who I thought, of course, they would see it, and they're not, sometimes seeing it. And that's what it was. Like, okay, all these people are crazy, but these few people, they're not crazy. But that you can't assume anymore. You just can't. and people keep shifting themselves, you know, so their personality keeps shifting. So I've had cases where somebody totally agrees with me, and then there's a shift, and then they don't, and I'm like, you just totally agreed with this last week, and now they're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, yes, you did. Nope, they didn't, and nothing has really changed in their life. They just are different now. It's especially frustrating when someone repeatedly complains about a problem, but they refuse to consider any solution. Yeah, so you know, the thing is, usually if you have the same problem over and over in your life, the only way to fix that is going to be to change something about you. And it's usually something you're clinging on pretty hard, because if it was an easy fix, you would have done it already. So that's the hard part. It's, you know, maybe you're don't think you deserve something, or you've gotten really attached, or you have some worldview that blocks, you know, there's going to be some change in mental processing that you're going to have to do. And that's the hard part. It very much is. And you got to dig in and see what it is. So you're going to have to look at all your dirt and dig through it. And then you're going to have to change your way of thinking. And it's just a lot. And I think it's just a lot easier for a lot of people to just say, and that's the fault of such and such politics and not them. And I don't have to change anything. And people change their opinions like their underwear. Yeah, that's it. Lately, it's like that. I'm like, wait, you know, you just said the complete opposite. So that's also very frustrating. You just can't rely on anybody to his opinions anymore. But and it's just been hard on me. I just feel like I'm kind of alone, and you know, I'm just gonna have to suck it up and go, okay, you know, I have to be strong in myself and stop relying on everybody else. And I kind of came to that conclusion last week, and it's gotten easier once you just kind of let it go of the expectations. It does get easier. All right, I got to end it now. So thanks everybody, and thanks for listening to my stream of angst at the end there. Appreciate it very much. You know the drill. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.